Looks like we're live. Testing. Yep, everything looks good. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Thought I would take a look at a couple offerings from Bowmore. And one of them is familiar and one of them is not. The second one we'll look at is the 15 Darkest, which I've had at a bar in Baltimore before, and a really good one called Birds of a Feather. If you're near Baltimore, it's definitely worth a go. And it was not what I was expecting. I've had a lot of Ardbegs and Lafroigs Lagavulins before I tackled this bottle, and this had a little bit of funk in it, and I think it's from some either sulfur or tannins. I'm not quite sure which one more so than another, but it had to grow on me. The first sip, I was kind of like, "Oh, that's different," and over time, while I'm talking, I'm gonna pour one of these because I know this one's going to need a little more time to breathe. This is a special one that I found by accident recently. It's known as Bowmore Tempest overseas, and they've had several batches of the Tempest over there. It's a 10-year expression, and it's up to batch number 6, I believe. If I'm incorrect on anything, please correct me in the comments. I'm always good about going in the comments afterward and learning something if I miss something, and going with that. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and pour us a little bit of this and get this airing out what we're talking about it. Over here in America, this is known as the Dorus Mor, and we're at batch 3 now. Doing some research on this bottle, and this is the first one we'll go with, just because I think the 15 Darkest is going to be a little, I don't know, I've heard the peat on the Tempest slash Dorus Mor is very present. This is a cask strength whiskey at 54.9 on batch number 3, and first fill bourbon casks. And it's supposedly has a lot. It's heavily peat forward and has a lot of tropical notes with it too. It's probably going to remind me of their Gold Reef, which is a travel retail exclusive, but a cask strength version of it. I'm hoping that's what I'm going to get out of this, because I did enjoy the Gold Reef. I think I gave it like a 3.75 out of 5. I'm going by memory here. Check me out on distiller.com for my notes as Telex. Telex, and if this is a cask strength version of the Gold Reef, I think I'm in for a treat. But if it's a little different, that might not be bad either. And one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about tonight, maybe in the chat too, is maybe batch variations in general. How I never really thought much about it getting into whiskey. How much a different batch from one same distillery, same offering can be such a big difference from one year to the next. A good example of this recently was I did a review of the Tamdu batch strength. It's batch number 2. And I was at a whiskey expo and had it, and it was very, very good. I took notes, and it was a 4.5 star, I'd say, close to 4.75 at least, whiskey. And I've heard other people with the same batch, not even talking about batch variations, but variations within the same batch, of batch 2 not really doing it for them, and having not a lot of flavor and all this stuff. I'm thinking, did we really have the same whiskey? Because that's not my experience. And that happens a lot, like with Abelauer Abana. I had a batch where the first one I had was fantastic. I can go back and get numbers. You can look up distiller.com and get the numbers on the batches. But one number had a great clove finish, like clove cigarette kind of finish. Everything else, the palate nose, fantastic. I gave it, 4.5. And then turn around, I had a sample from a buddy that was an earlier batch. And you would think earlier batch would be, better, but it's not always the case. It turned out that the nose and palate were there, but the finish was really non-existent. It was more closer to the Abelauer 18, which is not a bad dram. It's just not the Abana. It's not, what you're buying it for, which is that cask strength, really powerful, heavy finish, So, but that happens from time to time. And this is where another thing, the reason I'm bringing that up is because of the Bowmore, the 10 Dorus Mor batches, the Tempest batches, they all fluctuate a lot. This one supposedly has a lot of tropical notes. Batch two of this is I've heard is completely different. More of I think nuts, peanut brittle, cashews, that kind of thing. So you never know what you're going to get with these things unless you do your research and before you spend. This ranges from 110 all the way up to 170. I've seen a huge price fluctuation with this guy, and this guy is about 67 to 80, 85 at the top layer. The reason why this one is higher at a 10 years because it's cast strength. We have to pay more for importing cast strength liquor, as you already know probably. So, but without further ado, let's get a little nose. I've heard his needs a little air, and I think I gave it at least a few minutes here. Probably not enough, but I can't ramble forever. Thanks so much for taking the time to come by, everyone. I'm looking at the comments above me here. Everyone, George Claplin, Tamar, and George Kaplan says the 15 Darkest is the only one I've had. It was okay. It grew on me as well on a 2-week work trip, and that was the best they had. No hotel bar, limited Scotch selection in that part of the world. Yeah, you're lucky actually to find that one. I've only seen one bar so far that had the 15 Darkest, and that's that one in Baltimore I was talking about. I'm sure Jack Rose in DC has it, but a lot of places seem to carry like at least one Lefroy, one Lagavulin, one Glenmorangie, Glenlivet, Oban, the things you typically see. Bowmore, for some reason, at least in Maryland, doesn't get a lot of love in the bars for some reason. I'm hoping that might change later on. Because I have had two, the 15 Darkest and the Gold Reef, and both I thought were good drams, So let's see what we get on this guy here in a second. We finished that bottle, and I brought the cork home and to remember it. First time to Malaysia. Oh, well, congratulations on the Malaysian trip there, George. I've never been there. It would be very exotic, I'm sure. I've always wanted to go to Thailand. I'm a huge Thai food culture fan. Tamar says I like when I see your comments in distiller. Oh, thanks a lot for taking a look at them. I try to make them interesting. I just bought batch 2. Hope it's good. Yeah, the batch number 2 for Tandu. I don't think you'll be disappointed unless you get one of those off batches. If you do by chance get an off batch after just one nose, maybe a sip, if it's not anywhere, and let it air out definitely for a while. That's a cast strength that needs to breathe for a bit. If you've let it oxidize a bit and you're still not happy, I would highly recommend taking it back right away and see if you can get an exchange somehow. I know it sounds insane that the likelihood is probably not great, but if you do a lot of business with a certain a store, I bet you money they might say sure, it happens, let us take a look. They'll probably send it back to the distributor and see if there's an issue and get you a new bottle, and maybe you'll get lucky with a different one. You never know. It's worth a try. I mean, especially when you're spending that kind of money on a bottle of whiskey that's going to last you not too long, at least around here. Everyone says he was not impressed with the Darkest. I thought the peat competed with the sherry. Yeah, I see where you're going, everyone. It's to me, if you're a fan of a Lefroy peat, like a heavy, not an earthy peat, but a peat forward dram with your sherry, then I think you'll enjoy it. But like, I know you're a big fan of sherry, more sherry than peat, and you would probably have more fun with the Lagavulin Distiller's Edition, is what I would recommend to you. If you want the more sherry than the peat, that's a really good entry. I think hybrid is what I would call it. And I love hybrid drams. Those are my favorite, actually. I was just drinking this Bonahaven Choichek the other day, trying to get through the heel of it, and it's like, I wish I had some sherry to mix with it. At the time, I didn't have anything. I didn't have this open, so I didn't have anything to really do a blend with it to give it that sherryness that I want to have with my peat, sometimes you have to be in the mood for, a straight, just like a Volna 8 or a Choiche Kjavanok, our big Perpetuum's kind of like that, where it's just really heavy peat smoke, and that's all there really is. So everyone says the darkest just seemed like it was nylon training wheels. Yeah. Uh, yeah, it's I don't know. The only thing that threw me off with this bottle was the sulfuric properties, which I do like now. I appreciate it now, or maybe the tannins, and I'm just trying to determine which one is more prevalent, the sulfur or the tannins. But it makes for an interesting dram. It definitely gives a little funk, the Ben Nevis has that, and this is like a peated, more heavily peated Ben Nevis. The Ben Nevis has peat smoke, but it's very subtle. This definitely has a lot more than that. So let's go for a nose on this guy. I know it's been a while. Yeah, right off the bat, coconut, pineapple. Man, that is going to be tasty. There's nothing better than a good cask strength whiskey. I'm just here to say, I wish all whiskey had to start at like 48 minimum. The 40s and 43s, 46s even are kind of, but wow. You can smell this a mile away. There is some alcohol burn in there, and I heard that I might have to tame this with a bit of water. But I'm a big cask strength fan, so I might not have to do that so much. I might put a couple of drops, and we'll see. I hate killing drams. I was started off warming up with that Glenkeith 21, and it's 43%, but it's perfect the way it is. I wouldn't touch it with water. I tried a couple of drops even, and just killed the nice tobacco and fruit. It just watered it down, even with just 2 little drops. So some whiskeys are just perfected by the independent bottler, or the distillery. So, ooh, this one's got a little savory in there too, surprisingly. So not only getting the tropical, I get kind of like a honey baked ham. That pineapple is, mixed melded in there really well with that. Reminds me of like a really good Virginia ham, salty. Got some cherry in there. This supposedly is just a first fill bourbon cask. It's non-chill filtered and cask strength. It does not mention the coloring for a 10-year. It's not. I wouldn't say that's a dark whiskey by any means, but I would not be surprised to add a little bit of coloring to do some uniformity, I guess is the word. I know a lot of distilleries say that they do the coloring only to keep their drams at a equal footing. This though, man, the color in the 15. I mean, I'm sure it's a sherry cask finish, so it's going to be dark, but you can't tell me there's not at least some coloring in that guy, I would think. On the eye, treacle, dark amber, breathe in dark. Let's just start chocolate, silver, dried fruits. Yeah, I don't know, man. If you're from Germany, let me know, because I know Germans get the scoop on the coloring. If the Bowmore 15 Darkest and the Tempest batch 610 has the coloring or not. I have a feeling it does. At least a little slight deal in the tin, at least. Well, let's go in for a little sip. Cheers malted. Ooh. Wow. Wow, that is different, man. That is different. That is different in a good way. Minty fresh. Mint. Wow, basil. Not at all what I expected on the palate. Mint, basil. Oh my. Like methylepidus. Not like a cough drop, but yeah, that effervescence that you can feel breathing it. It's not overpowering. It wasn't like, you know, pow, since it's cask strength, it wasn't like an overwhelming, you know, drink or anything. That was surprisingly good. I'm sure it's going to open up more with a little couple drops. One more sip, you know, neat, just to see if I get anything else before I put any water on. Because that's actually damn good as it is. Wow, some bacon in there too. Wow, vanilla, some like candied ginger, a little bit of lemon, but not overwhelming lemon. You know, kind of subtle. Well, good mouth coat, medium, I'd say, not heavy, but medium. My only complaint so far, tasting this neat and tasting it without any additives, is you can tell it's a more immature 10-year whiskey. You know, is that bad? No, because I think that the peat's more forward here because of the young age, and I sometimes I like that. And this is a good balance. This is one of the better 10-year whiskeys I've actually had. I mean, you're paying for it. It's not a cheap whiskey by any means, but you know, it's it's not a problem buy. It's a good buy, I'd say. Let's put a couple drops, just enough to. We'll start off small. It's always better to start small and build your way up if you need more water. Hmm. Has anyone else had the Bowmore Tempest 10, also known over in America as the Dorus Mor 10? If you have had that, please let me know. I'm, you know, curious of what you thought about it. Let's see here. Swami says Bowmore colors with the best of them. Yeah, I had a feeling as soon as I saw the 15, I was like, it might be the darkest, but I don't think it's a natural dark deal. Doesn't, you know, take away from the taste really, but it is maybe a little deceptive. And this guy probably has a little bit of touch. Thankfully, they don't go overboard with the coloring, if there is, you know, coloring, which I do think there is. But at least it's unchilled, filtered, and it's cask strength. So, you know, and it's 10-year, so it's got a lot of pros. It's got the 55, I'm sorry, the 54.9. You got the 10-year statement. You got the unchilled filtering, but you might have a little bit of color. So we'll give, you know, 3.5 out of the 4 on the Aquavite scale is not a bad thing, really. Tamar says, Swami, you see a theme. Delmore, Bowmore, Colormore. Oh man, you guys are funny. But yeah, I'm sure Dalmore has some E150 up their sleeve as well on some of the strings of the 12 I've seen. And I was like, wow, that's a little darker than I expected it to be. But you know, everyone says barrel is different, temperature different, yeast can be different, house start can be different over time. Yeah, yeah, that's the tough thing about the, you know, batch variation thing. It's like there's so many different things that can affect a whiskey: the temperature, the humidity, the climate, the dunnage type, you know, warehouse where it's stored in the top, the back, the front, you know, if it's stored in a racked versus the old school way, if it's, you know, next to the sea, if it's coastal, if it's not. I mean, there's so many little nuances that can affect these variations. The nose is so much more tropical than the palate on this guy. That's the weird thing. I still get a great nose with a couple of drops of water on this. I think the brininess comes forward. The maritime notes, the seashells and stuff come a little more forward with a couple drops, which is not a bad thing. I think it opens up a bit more, you know, multi-dimensional. Hmm. Still good. Still good. The that mint and the basil is toned down with the water a little bit. The cream, the vanilla, good finish too. Wow, it's like a medium. Still get that mentholyptus minty peppermint, like eating one of those York peppermint patties almost. Mm. It's a little dry, but not overwhelmingly dry. Medium. Still got some of that let's say basil-y finish there. Hmm. Just a couple more drops, just to see if it gets better or if it gets worse. Just to have a little, time, monitor it. What you guys drinking if you are drinking anything? Just out of curiosity. It's not too late to drink if I'm working tomorrow, but I'm working from home at least, so I don't have to worry about getting up ultra early like I usually do if I have to drive into DC. Thankfully, I can get up and just turn the laptop on and get going. Sweeter notes come in with a little more water. Marshmallow, vanilla still there. This is turning into a Nika. It's not a bad thing if it's a aged Nika. At least a 10 or 12-year Nika, and we're talking business there. Hmm. Probably a little too much. It's right at the edge where I would not add any more. Still good. The sweeter tones come in. Maybe a little more grape, maybe some pears in there. Definitely white fruits come a little more forward, but you still have all those other notes I talked about earlier in there. So that's not a bad thing, man. That's I would call that a tasty dram. It smells wonderful too. Finish is pretty good. A little dry on the very back, on the very end, but wow, man, that's a tough one. I wouldn't call it a sweet dram. I wouldn't call it there's no sherry that I'm aware of in here, so it's not a sherry dram. It's not it's got peat. I'm not even sure if I would call it a heavily peated dram. It's medium peat, I'd say. Not as much as I envisioned, but if I go in straight neat cast strength, I think it has more of a bit of that bite of that peat. So this is one you can definitely get a lot of different things from, but I think you still do have to be in the mood in order to really enjoy it. If you're looking for peated fruit dram that's not overly sweet, that it does not have a big alcohol burn, surprisingly, a medium mouth coat, so it's not ultra thin. Nice cast strength, and yeah, that's a 4 out of 5, I'd say. Maybe some subtle dark chocolate on the finish too, which is a good thing, but it's so subtle. Those herbal mint and basil notes are so forward. That's the only thing that's preventing me from going up over a 4. 4.25 is tempting. I'm leaning towards a 4 though, but that is good. Let's go ahead and pour us a 15 darkest on and enjoy that. while we close it out. Let's see. Tom had said he had his dram of OP-17, not feeling well, so he's going to stop tonight. Well, that's okay, Tom. I know how you feel, man. Luckily, I haven't been sick for a while, but when I am, that's the last thing I want to do is have a dram of anything. So I don't blame you there. I hope you feel better. And I'll have this one for you, my friend. That is dark. Is it the darkest? I don't know, man. I don't think that I would call it the darkest, but ooh, wow. Yeah, you already get that sulfuric tannin on the nose. It's much darker. I'm gonna give me a little palate cleanser here. Oh, everyone, the Deanston 12. I think you've been messing with. You heard. I know Aquavite has been very um, positive on the Deanston front. What did you think about that Deanston 12 after having the air out for a while? I know by now it's probably been pretty well oxidized, I would hope. Hopefully you had a time to play a little bit with a little bit of water if it's below 46, 48%. Let me know in the comments or the chat what you got out of that deal. I haven't had a Deanston before, but I am curious to give it a try to see what if I had the same type of adoration that some other folks do about it. Yeah, I remember this one was a not a peat monster, but a definitely a peated sherry. Probably my first hybrid. I'm trying to remember. Most people consider a Lagavulin 16 as a hybrid because it does have a little bit of sherry in it too, I believe, even a small amount compared to the Distillers Edition. But as far as like more closer to, I'm not sure about a 50-50, but a 60-40, 70-30 split, I would say this is probably one of the first hybrids I had that opened me up to the possibility of liking sherry in general. This guy is part of their core range. It's easily found. The Dorus Mor 10, not so much. This one was a lucky find. Darkest 15, most liquor stores will have it. The 12, the 18 are also easily found. They have a small batch that is easily found. I think they have one called the number 1 that's on their core too. That's a newer core offering. Don't quote me on it, but I believe that's the case from where I was looking around at. They do have lots of casks offerings. One of the highest rated scotches of all scotches is a Bowmore Mizunura cask. It's like next to the Highland Park 18, I think is like the second or third one of the higher rated scotches, period, of all. So I'm sure it's not cheap. I'm sure it's going to cost you a pretty penny, but it might be worth a try. Tom, have you had the Mizunura cask already? I'm just curious to see if you've experienced that one. It's probably out of my budget, but it would be a very nice Christmas present or a Valentine's Day gift, or I'm not Catholic, but maybe even for St. Patrick's Day. That would be something. Wow. Yeah, you definitely get some heavy fruits in there too with that the sulfur tannin, the peat, very sherry, the figs, raisins, cinnamon. Maybe some like blood oranges. sweetness too. Maybe some brown sugar. Not sure if it's dark brown sugar yet. I have to go on the palate for that one. It's been a while since I had the 15 darkest. It's going to be a good memory, I think, going in. Mouth coat looks like it's going to be pretty good. Tomar says the only Bowmore was the Sea Dragon bottle from 2000. It was a 30-year Bowmore. Wow, man! I bet that was enjoyable. At least I would hope. 30-year. Wow. And I took you up on that cork. I remember you said I think that was the one that your cork fell into. And when the Amazon, I got that corkscrew, the cork grabber. So I appreciate the heads up on that. Hopefully I'll never have to use it, but if I ever do, at least I have something that's better than sitting there and pouring bottles into glasses with unbleached coffee filters. That's something else. Oh man, it's like if you took scotch and mixed a really good red wine with it almost, but it's bizarre. Great nose. The original reason I picked up the bottle a little bit ago was to see what the bottling strength was. It's only 43%. Wow, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be mild. 43. Well, at least it's not 40, right? Dare I say, it's a bit different going from a 54.9 to a 43. Not so bad per se. It's just such a shock almost to the palate that definitely becomes easier drinking, that's for sure. Slight sulfuric note. It's not as much as that Bennevis 10. Tannins, kind of like a wine quality to it, but it's good. The peat is very low. It's a lower deal than this Dorus Mor. Definitely, peat in that guy is on the lower end. It's definitely more of a sherry glass. I would not call it a sherry bomb by any means, but it definitely has that really nice smooth sherry finish. The darker fruits like the figs and the raisins, and that finish is medium length, not too short, not overly long. Like that one Abelauer Abanab, man, the finish lasted for hours, like 3 or 4 hours. It seemed like a Lagavulin 16 kind of finish. This is a little more subtle, but it's still good. I'm wondering, going back now that I've had a lot more experience with whiskey, if I would rate it as high as I did in the past. What I'm going to do, just for giggles, I'm going to go back and look up what did I give the Bowmore Darkest 15. So let's do a little search here and see what we get, just for curiosity. And I'll tell you if it's the same, worse, or better. And hopefully my notes are pretty easy to find. Yes. Okay. My my notes were, hot damn, what a different kind of Isla whiskey. It reminds me of a Lagavulin 16 Distiller's Edition, but not as refined, which I still stick by that. It's a similar style dram, but it's not as well-rounded, not as heavy mouth coat, not as, and it's not as old. I mean, it's only about a year or so, but I think the distiller's edition is still a 16. So, but hey, the $40 difference in savings is something consistent to consider, which is true because I think the money that you pay for this guy, the 67, I think is what I got this for, up to maybe an 80 something, versus Lagavulin Distillers is around 120, 130 at the higher end. Significant difference with cost. I think I would snag this above a Lefroy Triple Wood. Is that blasphemy? And I still stick by that. I was not a big fan of the overly oakiness that I got from the Lefroy Triple Wood. I like it, some oak, some woody notes to a dram, but if that's like the main thing, I mean, being named Triple Wood, you know what you're going to get. But I wish it was a little less woody. Well, this is a love it or hate it dram, and even though the first sip was iffy, the second and thereafter had me coming back for more and more. Yeah, it definitely grew on me. It is thinner than I remember. It's not as potent, not as doesn't grab me as much as it first did. I think it's a great entry level Isla Scotch for people that do like a sherry Scotch. That if they're wanting to try a glass that's got a little peat, see what the peat's going to do to their sherry. I think this is a great entry level because also the cost is such a lower deal. I mean, yeah, you can spend $65, $70 on GlenDronach 12 and then another $80 on, Lagavulin or a Lefroy or something and mix it. But this is going to be half the price. So you might as well go in and, grab you one of these. The nose is the best thing I think about the dram. Palate second, finish third. Unfortunately, on Distiller, they only have ratings that go from 1 star to 5 stars with star increments. I like to do more of a 0.25 increment to really diversify the ratings, so it's easier to determine what's better than something else. I put 4 up there. I guess I would still keep it at a 3.75, which is rounded up to a 4. 3.75, I think, maybe 3.5. It's I'm thinking of 3.5 to 3.75 on a good day. Depends on my mood, I think, on a dram like that. You definitely have to be in the mood for the sherry and the sulfur. But that's what makes a Scotch great, because there's one for every mood. Let me take a look at the comments here. Everyone says I like it. It reminds me a little bit of the OP17. We're talking about the Deanston 12. Yes. Okay. Wow. That's quite a statement if it reminds you of the OP17. Thomas R says he has a third of the bottle left. It's quite good. Everyone says strong on the honey, a little hot neat, nice malt, a little astringent. Well, I'm not afraid of a hot dram if it's, a couple of drops of water can always probably tame it down. If it's strong on the honey, then a couple of drops probably won't kill it. Astringent, though, the only bad thing about adding any water to an already astringent dram, it could really bring that mineral, whatever the note is that you find kind of slightly off-putting. It could bring it out even more. That happened with a Bowmore 21 I was playing with from Barry's. It has this, I want to call it like a chicken liver kind of finish right at the end of the palate, right before the finish. Has like a liver, like a real savory chicken liver almost kind of quality to it. And I thought, well, maybe if I put a little water on it, it'll, tone that down a little bit. Well, unfortunately, it brought it even more to the forefront. So that was not a good thing. So even though that guy was a 50 something, I think it's like a 54, 55% cast strength whiskey. It's probably best neat. It's not one I wouldn't even add water to because of the some of the after notes. Tom Mars says, I agree. There's a Scotch for every occasion. Yeah, that's the great thing about it. You can't go wrong with, you know. I'm finding out the more I taste the ones that have a really good balance of a little bit of peat, a little bit of sherry, or a little bit of like a cask influence are my favorites. Like the Ardbeg Ugadal is fantastic. That one should be on everyone's shelf at all times. Hucklephone 16, even though I know a lot of people think it's, you know, very highly hyped, I think it is a damn good dram, though I could drink that every day and not be, you know, not be turned off by it by any means. Lefroy, the lure is fantastic, but it's pricey as hell. 130, 120. I've seen it as low as 110. PX cask is outstanding, but it's travel retail only. Good luck finding it. I will be doing a review though on that soon. I'll be getting a sample, thank God. And because I have had a bottle of it, and that bottle has been long gone for quite a while, but I would love to do a review for you guys on that one. It's one of my personal favorites. I guess the Lefroy 10-year cast strength would be something that everyone should have on their bar too. I'm just going through Kilchoman, Lochgorn, you can't go wrong. Bunnahabhain 12, you can't go wrong. With Kilkerran 12, Springbank, I'd say a Springbank 10 or a 12 cast strength. Talisker Distillers Edition, a favorite. I've gone through a lot of them there, just kind of telling you what I would, if I had drams that I, you know, bottles that I want to have on a desert, you know, deserted island, and that's all I had to drink, that's probably the ones I would probably go for. Everyone says that, to be honest, at that price point, I'd rather have the Highland Park 12 or the Bowmore Darkest, but have the smoked sherry. Ooh, that's the weird thing. I'm not sure if it was because I was in a bar for the first time having it. The Highland Park 12 didn't do much for me as far as like overall taste. I found it a bit underwhelming, and I think hopefully it was just the food I was having it with. I had it before I ate, of course, but I don't know. It just didn't. I think the problem was I had the 18 before I had the 12. It's like sacrilegious. It's like having a freaking an Ardbeg Ardbog before you have the 10, and it just doesn't make any sense. But I don't know. I never had the Bowmore 12. I've heard mixed reactions, and some people love it, and some people are not, you know, into it. But I'm going to definitely give that a try. 18, of course, is on my radar. I'm looking forward to getting more into the Bowmore. This one is a star. I think this is a good deal. Not cheap, but you know, the good ones are hard to find under $100 anymore. It seems like. The nose one is 15. I mean, even if you don't drink it, everyone, I think if you nosed it, you probably would get enough enjoyment out of that. You can't tell me you did not enjoy the nose in this 15 Darkest, man. I think I enjoyed that most of the whole thing. It's too bad the palate doesn't, I guess, equate, but they all can't be 5-star trans. It grows on me though. The more I have of it, it's one of those where the mouth coat builds, the flavor builds with time. The cinnamon, the figgy notes, and all that, really, the sweetness, brown sugar, it comes more and more. You know, I guess if you're going to sit down and you are planning on having 2 or 3 drams, this is the one to go for me at least. This guy is when you just want a dram. You don't really, you know, you're not really going to go through them very quickly. You're going to have 1 dram pour for 2 hours or whatever, and you're just going to sip it. I mean, I didn't even hardly, you know, I didn't even finish it yet. I will do that later. So there you go. Well, thanks so much, guys, for sticking around. I got to get going, so I got to get up before work tomorrow. But checking out the last of the comments here. Everyone says the Dean's to 12. Wants a little water and it opens up nicely. Okay. I'll definitely keep that in mind if I ever get my hands on one. The best part of the Dean's to 12 is the 46 ABV non-chill filter, no color, and I paid $51. Let me see if my special store has the Deanston in stock. I think they do have some Deanstons. Let's see what they have for the price, just out of curiosity, and compare notes on what they got here. So they got a Deanston. Oh, they don't have the 12. Damn. They've got an 18 for 135. They got a 20 for 159. They got a PX 10-year. I'm gonna try to get this one for myself for $62.99. That sounds damn good. A Deanston PX 10-year Highland, $62.99. And then they have this one that's just labeled as Deanston unchilled filter for $54.99. I bet that's their 12-year probably. Would you say it was 51 that you got it for? That's pretty close. I'm thinking that the theirs is probably $54.99, so probably within a few bucks. They also have the Virgin Oak for $38.99. That's their core entry level. It's not an age statement. $38.99 though is really pretty low price. It might be worth a gander if it's not 40%. If it's only 40, might not be really worth it. But if it's 43, 46, and can handle a couple drops of water, maybe it'll open up nicely like that 12 did. I'll have to keep in mind that one. See how that goes. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for sticking around. It's been awesome, and hopefully I'll catch you guys on the next one. Launch of find the mouse here.